He's the 8th commissioner of Major League Baseball and was part of the investigation into Pete Rose back in the late 80s. And he is Fay Vincent here on The Rich Eisen Show. Pleasure having you on, Fay. Thanks for calling in.
Well, you're very nice to have me. Thank you.
Of course. What did you think of Rob Manfred's decision to maintain the lifetime ban on Pete Rose?
Well, I thought it was superb. It was hard to find any fault with it whatsoever, and I thought it was totally predictable.
Why would you think it's totally predictable?
Because I don't think the commissioner of baseball wants to give up the deterrent effect of that rule. The Pete Rose case is not about Pete Rose, although he tries to present it that way. It's all about the deterrent. The deterrent is one of the few things in American culture that's totally effective. We haven't had any gambling on baseball. We haven't had anybody make a mistake except Rose for years, decades, 50 years.
Well, in many ways, what I thought when you said it was predictable, that you thought that Pete Rose couldn't have presented a changed man, saying that I'm no longer gambling, I'm no longer taking the stance that I refuse to admit publicly that I gambled in every capacity as a player or a manager. I thought that's what you meant by predictable.
Well, that's also true, but, you know, in my world, and I think in the world of the commissioner, that's not the issue. The issue is, how could you possibly change that deterrent at a time when you're dealing with a substantial problem with performance-enhancing drugs, when gambling is becoming an enormous threat to all sports, when the whole country is... Look at the draft, the fantasy baseball, fantasy football business that's going on. The country's crazed on the subject of gambling, and here you have a case where you got a deterrent in a sport that's totally effective. So there's no way the commissioner was going to change that. I mean, no commissioner would do that. And I salute him for not doing it, but I can't say it was a close question. I don't think it was ever a really serious question.
Did Commissioner Manfred ever reach out to you on this subject to see what you, as somebody who was so integral to the investigative process as well as being a former commissioner, did he ever pick up the phone?
Well, he did. He not directly in the sense that he didn't call me. I did talk to him about it early on, but he sent his assistant, John McHale, whom I've known for years, who really managed the review for the commissioner, and McHale worked on it for months and did a very thorough job. He talked to John Dowd at great length, who did the investigation for Giamatti and me, and John took him through the whole background. And, of course, the Dowd report is a remarkable document. It stood the test of every single person who's tried to attack it, and it stands as an example of how to do these things. John did a terrific job.
Fay Vincent, 8th Commissioner of Baseball, joining me here on The Rich Eisen Show. What do you say? I just had a caller call in to my show saying that it's time served, that enough is enough, that what Pete did as a player, that he deserves to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, said that's not his table, essentially, that that's a separate issue. Can we really separate these issues in your mind, Fay?
Well, I think you can, certainly in terms of procedure. Obviously, the Hall of Fame at any time can adopt its own rules. It can say we're willing to admit people who are on the ineligible list, such as Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose, and we're going to do that. And we're going to admit people that have major problems with baseball, including people who have been cheating via the performance-enhancing drugs. In other words, the Hall of Fame can do anything it wants. That's separate from baseball. Now, can you separate them in terms of the substance? No, I don't think you can have ceremonies in the jail yard at Leavenworth to present rings to baseball players who are doing time for serious crimes. And that's the risk you're going to take if you don't have this character test. There has to be some limit on the character of people that we want to honor in baseball. So if I were involved with the Hall of Fame, and I'm not, I would argue they have to keep a standard of behavior unless you want to give rings out at the Leavenworth prison, and I don't want to do that.
Well, there are some people that were probably hearing that, Faye, saying that what Pete Rose did, it doesn't rise to the standard of whoever did anything that would put them in Leavenworth.
Well, Pete Rose, among other things, did do time in a federal prison, so that's not totally irrelevant.
Okay.
But the fact is that there's a character test to prevent someone who was a guard at Buchenwald but hit .350 from becoming a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I'm all for that. I think there should be. Now, I would make it a fairly out there limit. I mean, I think we don't want to have people disqualified because they didn't pay their taxes on time or something. But if you commit a serious crime, certainly one of violence, and you've done some just heinous things, I don't think you should be in the Hall of Fame.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.